Welcome to this explainer. There's a completely invisible battle happening right beneath our feet every single day. The geological and meteorological forces unique to the Birmingham region are constantly testing our local plumbing infrastructure. So today, we're going to break down exactly what those hidden threats are, and more importantly, how you can actually defend your property. So, is your home sitting on a plumbing time bomb? It's a pretty intense question, but it's one every local homeowner really needs to ask. Whether you're living in a historic downtown bungalow, a cool mid-century spot in Vestavia Hills, or a brand new build down in Hoover, you are facing a really unique set of challenges that just don't exist in more temperate climates. We aren't just talking about your everyday wear and tear here. We're talking about relentless environmental forces that are actively aging and threatening your home's infrastructure right now. Basically, we are dealing with what's known as the triple threat. First, you've got the expanding red clay soil that surrounds homes all across the metro area. Second, there's our notoriously mineral-heavy hard water. And third, our highly unpredictable extreme weather, specifically those rare but severe winter freezes mixed with our intense summer heat. When you put these three elements together, well, they create a perfect storm for plumbing disasters, which makes having local expertise not just helpful, but absolutely essential. Section 1, Birmingham's unique plumbing threats. So let's start with age and materials, because that is your first major vulnerability. In our older neighborhoods, homes built between the 1920s and 1960s are highly likely to rely on cast iron drain lines and galvanized steel supply pipes. And the harsh reality is, these materials are literally corroding from the inside out. The cast iron rusts, it creates these rough surfaces that catch debris, and eventually it leaks raw sewage right into crawl spaces. Yikes, right? On the flip side, newer homes utilize flexible PEX for water supply and durable PVC for drains. But if you're in an older home, you're at a significantly higher risk simply because those original materials have reached the end of their natural lifespan. Now, it is kind of fascinating when you think about it, how a massive, invisible problem like red clay soil actually works. It's everywhere in Birmingham, and it essentially acts like a giant sponge. When it rains, it gets wet and expands. When we have a dry spell, it shrinks right back down. This constant swelling and contracting physically shifts your home's foundation. And what do you think happens to rigid, aging underground pipes when the earth around them literally moves? They crack, they pull apart, and they fail. This soil movement is exactly why so many local sewer lines and water mains just mysteriously break without any warning on the surface. Let's think about the number 9 for a second. Water actually expands by exactly 9% when it freezes into ice. Now, because our local climate is generally pretty mild, most of our homes completely lack heavy insulation for exposed pipes in places like crawl spaces, attics, or exterior walls. So when one of those rare, brutal Alabama winter freezes hits, the water trapped inside those uninsulated rigid pipes expands by that 9%. It creates tremendous physical pressure, and inevitably, it violently bursts copper and galvanized steel lines. The crazy part is, the catastrophic flooding usually happens a day or two later when the ice finally thaws out. Section 2. Common local plumbing disasters. Okay, here is a symptom almost all of us have dealt with. You're lying in bed, the house is quiet, and then you hear it. The toilet is running again. It's a super common annoyance, but in our region, it's usually not just some random mechanical failure. It is actually directly tied to our specific local climate. It basically comes down to a two-front war happening right inside your toilet tank. First off, our famous high humidity causes the rubber flapper valve seal to warp over time. Simultaneously, our mineral-rich hard water is depositing calcium and magnesium directly onto the valve, preventing it from getting a proper seal. This tiny, climate-driven failure quietly wastes up to 200 gallons of water every single day, literally just silently jacking up your water bill. And these environmental root causes map perfectly to other everyday annoyances too. Hear gurgling toilets or noticing slow drains? That's very often mature tree roots invading your sewer lines looking for a drink. Seeing white, chalky deposits on your shower heads? Yep, that's our hard water at work. Notice your water pressure randomly dropping in the summer? Well, that happens because high municipal demand during the hottest months heavily strains older, corroded pipes that already have reduced flow capacity. And hey, if you ever smell sewage in your yard or notice unusually lush patches of grass, the red clay has probably shifted and cracked your sewer line. The real danger here is how fast the scope of these emergencies scales up when you ignore the early symptoms. Look, a simple fixture repair takes under 8 hours, one quick visit. But if that red clay shifts and snaps a pipe right under your foundation, you're suddenly looking at a multi-day slab leak repair that involves literally breaking concrete and patching it back up. And if those 1950s galvanized pipes finally corrode all the way through,
A whole home repiping is a massive 3 to 5 day project. Catching the small symptoms early is absolutely the only way to avoid these major overhauls.
Section 3. Navigating codes and permits. I know, building codes sound like total red tape, but Birmingham enforces the International Plumbing Code with very specific local amendments for a very good reason. These regulations actually mandate the exact materials, the slope requirements, and the installation methods that are scientifically proven to withstand our expanding clay soils, our hard water, and our wild seasonal temperature swings. The code is literally your property's shield against substandard work that would absolutely fail in our unique climate. And because the environment here is so demanding, permits are strictly required for major work. We're talking things like water heater replacements, repiping, and sewer repairs. Licensed professionals pull these permits to trigger official inspections, ensuring the work actually meets those local protective codes. Listen, doing this kind of work unpermitted as a weekend DIY project is incredibly risky. It not only leaves your home super vulnerable to the environment, but it can trigger massive fines and severely complicate the whole shebang when you eventually try to sell your property. Section 4. Prevention and Professional Solutions. If a disaster strikes, you need an immediate game plan. Honestly, before you do anything else this weekend, go find your main water shutoff valve. First, check your water line entry point, usually in the basement, crawl space, or garage. Not there? Next, look around your water heater. Finally, search for a concrete box out near the street at your property line. You're looking for either a wheel-style gate valve or a lever-style ball valve. Find it, tag it with some bright tape, and test it every year. Because you need to be able to shut that water off in seconds before a burst pipe destroys your home. To prevent these massive headaches, sticking to a maintenance schedule is literally non-negotiable. Remember, our hard water reduces appliance lifespans drastically. That means your water heater needs replacing every 8 to 12 years. You really want to do that before sediment corrodes the tank and floods your floor. Schedule a professional drain cleaning every 18 to 24 months to catch those sneaky tree roots early. And just go ahead and change out that toilet flapper every 3 to 5 years to fight off the humidity damage.
And there's a really dangerous myth we need to bust right now, which is directly highlighted by our sources. Professional drain cleaning only removes roots temporarily. For permanent repair, you actually have to replace or line the pipe to seal those entry points and stop the roots from growing right back. You cannot permanently solve severe regional issues like matured Birmingham tree roots crushing a clay-shifted sewer pipe with a bottle of store-bought chemicals. Actually, scratch that. Temporary patches just don't cut it at all. True protection requires fully sealing the system.
So ultimately, you have to ask yourself, is your home's infrastructure truly prepared to survive the next Alabama freeze or summer drought? Knowing what we now know about the expanding red clay, the mineral-heavy water, and those aging historical pipes, you have the power to be proactive here. Check that shutoff valve, inspect your older fixtures, and get ahead of the elements before they get ahead of you. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into our local infrastructure, and keep learning.